Hello guys, how are we doing and welcome back to Hell with Harrz, a series where I try and make my viewers, subscribers and channel members better at Black Ops 6 ranked play. Today we are reviewing a player called Ryan. Apologies if I'm absolutely demolishing your name there. And they're currently Plat 3, I think they're Diamond when they actually submitted the form, but this is a Plat 3 gameplay. It's Vault Hardpoint, and the focus of today is how to play as a team and rotate effectively when you're solo queuing. So whether you're Plat 3, if you struggle with Vault Hardpoint, or whether you feel like you could do better at solo queuing perhaps, this video is going to be for you. We're going to be reviewing the form this player sent in. We're going to be looking at the gameplay in its entirety and picking out some key bits I feel like we need to talk about and maybe give a little bit of coaching on. And then we're going to be going into a bit of a summary at the end, giving 2, 3, 4 key tips that this player can take away and really focus on for the rest of this game. So kicking it off with the form, they are a console player. They play 35 hours a week, so that's a fairly substantial amount of time, which means you've got the time to try and improve, which is the number one thing. They're currently Diamond, and their game puts them in high Diamond lobbies, so that probably indicates that your hidden MMR is higher Diamond. They're new to ranked, so first of all I want to say congratulations on getting to Diamond with the first time this being ranked play. So for those of you who don't know, gold is pretty much average, high gold is average, so anything above that is better than average. And considering this is your first ranked play session, or your first ranked play game, kudos to you getting Diamond. First of all, round of applause. Settings look okay. FOV of 105 is fine. However, I think 1.8 might be a little too high, but we'll see how it translates into the gameplay. They play on controller, and they've got a good setup. They are on Xbox by the looks of things, yet they are, and they play on a Series 2 controller, which is solid controller. What's one thing you'd like me to focus on in the gameplay? It's rotating and playing with teammates, which is what we've said already. And then they also say, I can honestly shoot back. I can mostly shoot back and win most gunfights. I know basic awareness on how to hold and cut lanes. I just can't break the hard point, and when I end up capturing it, I lose it almost immediately after the next wave. Fine. We're going to be taking a look at that as well. So getting into the gameplay, just a quick look at the scoreboard here. You can see they get okay hill time. It's nothing unsubstantial compared to the rest of the teammates, and they get a decent objective score ish as well. You do go negative. I'm gonna shoot this includes assists, so you probably go a little bit more negative, maybe 20 to 33 or something like that. But we're going to be looking at how you maneuver around the map, and this is quite a substantial loss. And whilst this is a substantial loss, it's perfect for Hell with Harrz. The more mistakes and the more you lose by, the more I'm hopefully able to pick out. So we're not going to waste any more time talking. Let's get on with the gameplay and let's see what we can find. Skip a little bit ahead because we don't want to watch this countdown. There we go. So using a sub, my first thing, if you're on console, make sure you're playing crossplay off. It levels the playing field and you will find it easier. Okay, let's rewind that a second. So, route to the hard point, not bad. What I would love to see is, and your teammates have actually, this is a pretty good setup. You've got a teammate catwalk, a teammate near the pool, and you've got two focusing on the hill time, which is really ideal. One thing I would recommend doing is pulling in your minimap slightly more center of the screen. You can do that by using the setting called HUD bounds. Pull it into the center. It makes reading your minimap a little bit easier, and you can do it a lot quicker. And when you're solo queuing, reading the minimap is half of the game. Now here, I don't mind what we're doing. We're sort of hiding. Now, when you're taking cover, you may as well look elsewhere. So yes, I get you're weak to a nade, and you want to try and take cover, which I get completely, especially when you know there's an enemy somewhat close by. But you may as well look to your right. You may as well look at something when you're taking cover. You're still in cover, whether you're facing right, left, or behind you from that same direction. Just don't look at the wall. If this were me, I know there's an enemy at desks. I'd be looking at the desk. I'd maybe throw a nade and a stun. You're likely to die anyway because your teammates are nowhere near you. Realistically, you've got enemies who have got a decent amount of control and you're weak. So you may as well throw an nade, throw a stun, try and deter the enemy's push, and go from there. Good first kill there. Unfortunately, we do get traded. But yeah, when you're trying to hide to take cover, which is a fine thing to do, you do want to make sure that you're at least watching somewhere other than a wall. Okay, you spawned P3, and I'm gonna try and break this down as much as possible here. So you've just spawned all the way out over here, and P2 is here. Your objective as a team, which is again working on teamwork, your objective as a team is to get the spawns over on this side of the map because it makes rotating to P2 a lot easier. Now, an easy way you can do that, and a real key point in P1 and the rotation to P2 is catwalk. So a lot of focus for you should be getting to catwalk or getting around catwalk, something like that, and making sure that you're not blocking these two spawns. There's two spawns here. You don't want to be blocking these spawns. You want to make sure that you're at least leaving this general vicinity, allowing the enemies to spawn in over here. Okay, that's sort of what you want to try and do. You want to sort of, in your head, you're going to want catwalk control. You're going to want to try and rotate to P2, and you also want to leave this area of the map so that the enemy can actually spawn in there miles away from the new hill. Okay. So like this, I would have probably gone to progress up catwalk. Your teammate's on time, so you don't really need to get to lights that way. So I'd have probably progressed up catwalk there as a little bit of a better route. We've luckily spawned in ammo. And we're challenging the hill. Good kill. Solid kill. Good shots. Not bad use of stuns and nades. I like to see that. When you're shooting, try and pause if you're not hitting your shots. So at the moment, your teammates have got a good amount of kills. That's 4 down. You notice an enemy here, and you try and evade. You don't have much support from the enemy, from your team at this point. I like this. I like the stun and nade. What I'd have probably done here, you've completely opened yourself up. You've completely gone challenge, and unfortunately, you've come across 2 enemies. However, you probably could have played that a little bit differently. So you're the only player on time. Again, use your stun and nades here. I really like this. You notice this player approach you from lights, and what you decide to do is just, you get made somewhat weak. It doesn't say your health bar, but you then just try and aggress. Like you're weak, you've been shot, and then you try and push the enemy. That's the wrong way to go about things. Instead, try and play your life, back up a little bit, just go behind the pillar and shoulder left, right, shoulder left, right. That, or slide over to double desks where you've got a bit more cover. And whilst you're playing your life, the enemy's going to continue to shoot. Your teammates can then come and help. Your teammates don't know you're in trouble until you're in trouble, and they can visibly see you're in trouble by using the minimap because you're solo queuing and you can't communicate with them. So what you really need to try and do here is play alive, hope your teammates come and help, and then go from there. What you do here is almost overcommit to the challenge and overcommit to the gunfight. Even if there was just the player shooting you here, you're likely to die just because of how weak you are. So yeah, there's a couple things I'd have probably done differently there. And then when it comes to shooting the enemy, we end up spraying rather than taking it a little bit at a different pace. Timing of your death as well, I'm sure you can see, is not ideal because P2's up and you're nowhere near it. Nice shots, really like that. We seem to be, something I'm noticing quite heavily here is you seem to be sprinting at the enemies. Okay, you're not anticipating the gunfights, you're sprinting at the enemies and just reacting as and when it comes. And that's something you want to try and avoid. So just here, you're not really pre-aiming much, you're not really looking for anything out of the ordinary. Move my cursor. And you know there's a player on time. It's not always your job to clear the time. Okay, that's the biggest thing you need to remember. You have, if we pause this, you've got 2 enemies down, you've got an enemy behind you, and you've got, which tells you, and the enemy in the hill. So the only 2 players alive on the enemy team are going to be in the current objective and at the trees behind you. Now, you also have the full team at the back here. Leave them to get the hill. You've just made noise. You've just shot your gun. Enemies are going to be wanting to kill you, including the player on the time. So their direction of attention is going to be towards you. Okay, they're not really going to be caring about the back. They're going to be concerned about where you're coming from. The best thing you can do here is leave your teammates who are in the back. And when you can see that from using the minimap, you can see that using the blue dots through the walls here. Leave your teammates to clear the hill, and you need to play your life. At the moment, what's happening? We're on P2. Your teammates are spawning in the back, which is here, which is good. The enemy are coming from this side. Okay, the enemy spawning here because your teammates are in the back. You know they're not going to be spawning in the back. They're either going to be, well, to be fair, they're either going to be spawning middle or here. Okay, and you know that because your teammates are in the back. So allow your teammates to flood the time from this side, and you can act as a bit of a barrier between both of these spawns and the objective. So this player here, whether the enemy spawn middle or the front, they need to get to the hill here. So what you can do in the current position you're in, which is about here, you can cut off both of these lines of sight by being in this position and staying alive. The worst thing you can do is give up all of this map control, because you can see here, if you own this space with a sub, the enemies have got to get through you before they get to the objective. So that's your job. Because the teammates are in the back and they outnumber the player on time, trust them to do the job of clearing the old hill. Clearing P2, sorry. You can then play the job of a roaming sub. You can get some kills around catwalk area. Worst case scenario, your teammates struggle to break the hill, you can throw a nade. You've got a nade and a stun in your back pocket, which you can use at any point in this engagement. The worst thing you can do is what you've done there, and it's forget about the enemy spawning behind you and just throw yourself up the hill. So we spawn out, that's fine. Your teammates have got 2 kills though. And again, we're running until we're reacting to see people. So this is something I see, honestly, quite frequently. So in this position, yes, we die. We spawn up. And we're here. Now, you've got your knife out and you're running into a really high engagement area where there's likely to be enemies. It takes you time to pull out your knife, and then you're not in a position where you've got a favorable gunfight, okay? You're in the complete open. The best thing you could have done here is either slide to the left towards the diving board and sit on the head glitch there, or stay behind that head glitch and just try and beam people. The route you're taking here does not favor you as a sub, okay? And I'm going to explain that because I think it might be a little bit challenging, but this zone here, there's no cover, okay? So any gunfight you take here is probably going to fall more likely in the favorable side of an AR player than it is a sub player. The best thing you can do when you spawn here is take a catwalk approach. All of you can see here, this corridor's a short line of sight. This corridor's a short line of sight. This one's slightly longer, but it's short. But you're keeping all the engagements really tight and compact, so that it benefits the gun you're using. Running out in the open into an area where the ARs are going to have a field trip of you just running across this open space is not the play right now. And I hope that's sinking in. If I'm going through something today and you're not sure why I'm saying it, or you want to know more, ask it down below, because the more you guys ask, the more you're going to know, and you're going to be better COD players as a result. Now this running through blindly towards P2 through this openness would be fine if 4 enemies are down. The fact that there's still plenty of enemies around means you've run into a gunfight where you're in an unfavorable position, you've not got the gun for the gunfight, and you end up dying. Don't worry about the leaderboard. This is another thing when you're solo queuing. Don't care what the teammates are doing if it's negative, okay? Trust them to do their job. If they don't do their job, it's up to them. The worst thing you can do is look through the leaderboard and say, shit, my teammates are costing me. They're not doing well. How are we doing? Don't compare yourself against your teammate. You're working as a team. You're not going to work effectively as a team if you're trying to criticize one another. And I know you're solo queuing and you're not actually communicating, but if in your head, your teammates are costing you, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to lose full, and it's going to be at the detriment of the game, and you're going to lose. Keep a level head. Control what you can control. Again, we're just sprinting and running at the gunfights. We're running quite quickly and we're just dying because we're not ready for that. So you're in a position here where, again, you're using the cover here. I think you slide to this, which is great. You have no map control. You have a stun and a nade. You've got people on this header. You've got people who might be here. Take time to just clear out those areas first. Where are you, when you're approaching this area here, where are you open to? Could be someone on the truck. There could be someone bottom catwalk. There could be someone top catwalk, to be fair, looking out the window. There could be someone on time looking at you. There could be someone back right. The immediate threat and the most likely threats are probably this area and the back right. You've got a stun and a nade. The benefit of you dying And it's probably the only really benefit of you dying in this situation is that you get a new stun and a new nade. Use them. Use them. Make it difficult. Make them weak. Make them stunned so that you've got a little bit more time. And it buys you a little bit more time and probability in a new gunfight, especially if they're weak, by using your stuns and nades. What we do here, we snake a little bit. Again, you could have used your stuns and nades perfectly here. Your teammate's about to pinch to the left, which is a really good time to try and push up. Unfortunately, they do fall. And when you're in trouble, you've just slid completely out of cover here, and you're open to every single danger zone possible. And that's again, the worst thing you can do. These gunfights you're taking on, you're not giving yourself the best chance of winning them. Slow it down. Slow it down. Okay, so we've pulled out an AR. There's 15 seconds left to the old hill. You're not really trying to break the P2 now. Your focus should be now stopping the enemies getting from P2 to P3 spawns. That should be your number one focus, especially if you're taking up this position. It looks like, looking at the minimap, your teammates are all focused towards the new objective, which is fine. So you need to trust them to do their job there. Let them get the new objective. Let them hold the spawn, which is clearly what they're trying to do from this player here. You need to make sure that the enemies can't easily get from P2 round this right-hand side. Your teammates are trusting you as much as you're trusting them. They're trusting you to hold this right-hand side of the map. So let's give them that. Let's prove that we can do a good job on this side. So I don't mind this push. You're going to be pinching them. They're not going to be expecting you to come here. Okay. Your teammates are getting in your head. I can tell they're getting in your head. You're marking the objective. No reason to do that. They know they need to capture the objective. Okay? And I think, and then when you die, you check the kill feed, you can check the scoreboard. Like, what the bloody hell are my teammates doing? It's not going to help. I promise you, it's not going to help. I like this play, though. I like that you're infiltrating the spawns and trying to be the thorn in the side of the enemy. You just need to be really careful. And you didn't check it. You need to be really careful that your teammates are in the proper spots to block the spawns that you want to keep. The danger of this play here is that you block the enemies from spawning back here and they spawn at the new objective. Okay, that's the danger. I don't know if you were aware of it. I don't know how tuned in you were to your teammate's position, but that's the danger of doing what you're doing here. So you get these couple of kills, really great. Trust your teammates to get on the objective. The way you can tell your teammates that the objective is fine is by continuing to get kills in this area. Leave it white. They should be able to get on the objective from there. Don't leave them to do, trust them to do that, okay? You unfortunately fall here, but you've got 2 down. You're in a good position. Your teammates hopefully hop the time at this point here. If they don't, it is what it is. You can hop on the time. You can do it for them. Tough. The best thing you could have done in the position when you were top ammo was to just play your life. Whilst you're there and you've already killed 2 enemies, the enemies are going to be looking for you. It allows your teammates time to jump on the objective when you're that distraction. Again, we've got the knife out. We've got the knife out, and we don't need to have the knife out. Enemies could be anywhere. You have real limited information on where they could be. You don't know whether they're out right. You don't know how many are on time. You don't know if they're already out the left. There's no map positioning from your teammates that are going to give you the idea of where where the enemies are. And none of them are shot. Again, you've got your knife out. I think you'll probably be dead anyway. But you could have thrown your stun and nade from up top. You were not in danger up top there. Throw your stun and nade from up top and you'd have been fine. Okay, there's 10 seconds left of the hill. And every time you spawn in, you want to look at how long's left on the current objective. It's the most time you get to check that, really, because usually you spawn safe. It's 10 seconds left of the old hill. Let's rotate. So you've very specifically chosen to take this gunfight on. And are you in a favorable position to take on this gunfight? Is the gunfight you're now setting up and you've taken the time to just pause and pre-aim? Are you in a beneficial position? You've got a sub. This range is the range where it starts to get a little bit tricky with a sub. They've got cover. You don't have cover. when you're taking on gunfights, you really need to make sure that you've got the upper hand in the gunfight, especially with a sub where you've got an area here. Best thing you could have probably done is hold a little bit of a tighter angle. So lay down behind this pillar and check their cross left here. Or back up and play the building. You know these players from P3 are going to flood into the building just to your left. Back up, slide over, stun nade. You've got the nade in your back pocket. Take a cover behind this thing. There's so many things you could have done. Throw a nade at the car, blow the car up. So many things you could have done here. Dying was the worst thing to do. Or taking on that gunfight was probably the worst thing to do. Okay, we spawned in. You know you've got no map control towards the left. There's 3 enemies that have probably come from P3 that have not died yet, at least. I don't mind that. You shouldn't have a sub up there, really. But it is what it is. You did, and you did a good enough job. Nice, you got a good amount of damage out there. I'm going to break down this play quickly. So that's 4 enemies dead. You know there's one in the back. And the rest will be likely spawning out. So you've got one in the back there. 2 people like maybe challenging from Jeep. At the moment, what spawn do you want? Okay, P4's active. In the back of your head throughout the whole of P4, you just think, okay, what spawn do I want? So P4 is here. You want these spawns back here. The alternative spawns are here or here, and you don't want them. Okay, you want this spawn. The only way to make sure your team spawn here is to make sure no enemies are here. You want to clear that zone. As soon as this player here stays alive, the 2 teammates who are waiting to spawn in, one already has, are going to spawn out. The 2 enemies waiting to spawn in are going to spawn in. Your focus should not be pushing out of time and creating a little bit of a diversion here, because you don't have the spawns. You should only do the thing you do next if you've got the spawns and you've guaranteed the spawns. Your focus right now should be, crap, there's a guy in the back. We're not going to get the spawns. The enemies are going to get the spawns. I need to kill that player. That's the player I need to focus on now. And that's where you should have put your focus. So we spawn back in, and there's 22 seconds left of the hill. Not a bad gunfight. I'll rewind this quickly. We are sliding in. We love to slide into the gunfights. I honestly think you need to slow it down a little bit. You don't need to slide forward into every gunfight you take on. And that seems to be a common thing. Again, you're running. You're sprinting so much. Run, 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 run. You know they're in P4. Where's the pre-aim? You're not pre-aimed. You're in full tack sprint here because your gun's all the way up and you're this close to the objective. You know an enemy's on. Slow it down. I promise you need to slow it down. Either turn off auto attack sprint or, I don't know, just try and take on the gunfights a little bit more methodically. But yeah, you're running way too fast considering you're in tack sprint, you're in full tack sprint. This is never going to be a gunfight you win. Expect them there. You know they're on the objective. Expect them there. I'm going to stop pausing so much. I know we're already 23 minutes into the video. I'm not going to break down every single thing. That's 3 down. Last guy's is desks. Should have been your hill. There was 3 enemies down there. That's really a shame. Stunned yourself. Not ideal. I don't need to... You know what happened, what went wrong there. Tack mask doesn't work if you stun yourself. Just as a heads up. Nice. You pre-aimed and you won the gunfight. You were ready for a gunfight. You pre-aimed. You won the gunfight. Good play. Good snake inform as well. Love to see that. 12 seconds left. Let the teammate behind you collect the time. Your job right now is to break the... Hopefully your teammate trades you. Oh, that's tough. when you're solo queuing, don't check the scoreboard. Instead, use the tack map. So pull the scoreboard up, press R1 or right bumper on your Xbox controller, and pull up the mini-map, the tack map, sorry, so you can see exactly where your teammates are. That is going to be far more valuable than looking at the leaderboard. Leaderboard doesn't matter if you lose. This is a slightly better approach. We're trying to ADS the time. We're trying to predict the gunfights. And ironically, we're sprinting again. So you do all this patient play. You've got a stun and an aid, which you've yet to use, even though you know they're on the objective. And now we're just running at the hill. What happened to pre-firing? What happened to pre-aiming? Sorry. Again, it comes back to slowing it down. And you started to slow it down when you're a catwalk, and then you just start sprinting again. You get caught sprinting a lot. Something I really actually am enjoying is your ability to try and use both guns. God, you died quickly there, blimey. Your ability to, switch from an AR to a sub to an AR, brilliant. That's a good quality to have. Okay, your teammates getting good kills. Nice. You're a little bit of a deterrent for the enemy. Well played. Five bullets. So shots there, probably I'm rewound this a little bit again. Not bad shots on that player. A little bit of a weird play. And again, you're risking spawning the enemies at the better objective by doing what you're doing here. Be very careful. And you haven't even checked where your teammates are to make sure they're blocking. So that's, I think, you've not flipped based on luck. Unless you are aware. But obviously those shots could have been better. The enemy's clearly weak, so they're recovering, so that's your time to reload. Commit to that reload. Because that ended up in you losing the gunfight. You really need to commit to reload. You have a stun, you have an aid, you have so much utility to deter the enemy from pushing you quite so quickly. And again, we're running at a point and we haven't used our tacks. Okay, you've teammates. So you're spawning in. You've got a teammate on time, you've got a teammate above, and you've got a teammate left. This area, I'm going to draw this on the map. This area is covered. Okay, you can see here, but based on where your teammates are, you've got a teammate here, teammate on time, and a teammate on the left. This area is clearly covered. Okay, now P4 is here. Okay, and there's 26 seconds left. Something that risks you losing the P4 rotations if an enemy spawns in and decides to run through middle or around the right. Chance of them doing this is less likely than running through the middle, but something you can do here, which is going to be brilliant, is instead of just joining your teammates and just fighting the same direction and only covering this one area, is take a route through mid. Make sure you've got the side door covered. Your teammates need to rely, because they've got so much focus on this left-hand side here, you need to give them the reliability. You've got middle. So what you could do is just post up in middle and own this zone. This could be your playground. Okay, you've got a sub. The area you're in P1 is a really nice place to have a sub, and you can stop any enemies who want to either go from the spawn through to pinch the time or go all the way through the spawn. You can be the person that blocks that off. Okay, and realistically, if you want to, as long as you're happy your teammates are blocking, you can push through and pinch enemies from the front. And that's going to relieve your teammates' pressure from this side. But at least the worst thing you can do in this situation, obviously, is just dying or whatever, or killing your teammates. But you don't join the force when there's already so much force there. Okay? Your attention should not be where you've already got domination. There's 3 enemies spawning up. You should try and think of a different route here. Yeah, that's tough. You didn't even see him. I think your side was out. Yeah, it is what it is. Right, 13 seconds. Rotate. Game's never over. Don't challenge the hill. Wait for them to come out. They've got to get from where they are to where they need to be. You're moving way too much. You're moving far too much. Slow it down. In a position like this, I mean, it's already late at this point. There's 6 seconds left. The enemy need to get from P3 to P4. What route are they going to take? They're probably going to come through here. Lay down in a corner. Lay down in a corner and just pre-aim this. This is as simple as it needs to be. You're doing far too much. Okay, we spawned in. We've got a controller P4 here. I like what I'm seeing. You're standing behind a car and there's no trophy stopping it from blowing up. And we've lost the spawns. Okay. Should we wind this back to when we died originally and see what went wrong? Okay, you spawn in. Your teammates look like they've got the left. And you're missing one. Where could they be? So I'd be very much concerned that you've killed 3 enemies and you don't have a clue where the other enemy is. So it means they're trying to be sly. It means they're trying to sneak, maybe, because they haven't gone for the trade. Your first thought process here should have been they're probably going to pinch. I'm not in a bet. This gun does not suit the position I'm in. In order for the sub to work, when you're pushing out, you need to be in the building or around the building area, so you've got cover. So there's a couple things that you could have probably done a little bit better here. I think you go and check for the enemy now. Again, we're caught running. And your teammate ends up dying as well. We spawn out. See where we go from here. Okay, they got a trophy. Nice kill. And again, we're sprinting. We're fully sprinting and we're in P4. You know they're on time. You know they know where you are because you've just got a kill. And look, your centering is great. Clearly it's great. But you're running into this the dragon's lair with your gun up. Okay? You need to be a little bit more slow. You need to take your time. Be annoying. The longer you play your life back here, the longer your teammates have to try and pinch and, help you out a little bit. The fact that you just running, give your life up completely, the enemies you've just killed are going to spawn in just as they would otherwise. You haven't really done much by getting that kill because you're not sat there then blocking the spawn or anything like that. You've gone in, you've been predictable, and you've not taken your time in the gunfights. You've given the gunfights to them. Again, we're switching to the AR. Feel like it's too late. Okay. You move to this position, and it's a position you want to hold, right? Use your trophy. Having this area of catwalk and owning this catwalk area and the pool area is huge for a P1 success on Vault. Okay, because from catwalk, you've got a really nice power position. If you own catwalk, your teammates can get on time knowing that you've got the left and they only really have to watch the right and front. It's a power position and you need to use your trophies when you've got a power position. You've died, I think you get stunned and then you get naded. And yeah, you eventually fall. Okay, that's 2 down. You've got good control. Your teammates unfortunately just died catwalk. You're holding this heady here with too much of your body exposed. Okay, if you want to hold this heady, you're giving them a better head glitch than you've currently got because you've got so much of your body exposed. You want your reticle to be aligned with your head glitch, not theirs. Obviously, you want to be looking at their head glitch as well, but your reticle should be touching your stairs as well as their heady to make it so that you've got the best heady possible. Because at this point, you're giving them the better heady. You're showing way too much of yourself. Again, you're reading. I think you're just a little bit impatient. Okay, we've got P2 spawns. It's not looking terrible. Teammates are doing a good job. You need to own this left-hand side now. You've left catwalk open, which is a little bit of a concern. Good kill. Good kill. Stay where you are. This is perfect. Push up a little bit if you want. Yeah. You could have really, really tried here. Trust your teammates. You're reacting to red dots far too much, okay? Your red dots are going to also be seen by your teammates. Let them deal with the people that you're not in the best position to deal with, okay? Don't worry about what, like, the red dot that's in the back of the spawn where your teammates are. Focus on your objective. Okay, Hellstorm isn't looking good. Let's see if we can slide in quickly. Teammates spawned in, which means they're only going to come front. Probably game. Nice, right, you went into a hill pre-aiming. Love that. Fortunately, you died, but... Okay. Right, before we get into it, I'm going to count how many actual kills you got and how many were assists, and I'm going to do it for a reason. So I've just been through the entire gameplay, right? And out of the 28 limbs you got, you had 17 actual kills, which means your actual stat line was 17 to 33. Now, bear in mind, hidden MMR is driven a lot more by actual kills than the limbs. But what was interesting, actually, for me, was as I was watching it through, 8 of your 17 actual kills were in the first P1, P2, and the very start of P3. So you managed to get half of your total kills in the first 2.5 hills. And you played, what, 4, 8, 10 hills in total? I think what happened, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to rewind this so it's just background music, background noise. I think what went wrong is as we got further and further into the game, you got a little bit more concerned of what your teammates are doing. You started changing classes. You started changing your loadouts. Literally, you started changing your class setup. And the frustration slowly built. And that essentially meant that you were playing faster and faster and faster. You become more and more impatient. And that ended up being at your detriment. So you did get 28 limbs, but only 17 kills in an entire 2.5 sets of rotations. And you got half of it in the first 2, maybe like 2.5 hills. And the reason I've done that, and the reason I'm breaking it down for you, is I'm trying to indicate how important keeping a level head is when you're solo queuing. It's so important that you don't check yourself out or the team you're playing with by your actions, okay? You need to try and regain. If you'd have kept playing as you played the first 2.5 hills, the game would have been closer. I'm not saying you'd have got the win because the other team looked really good, but the game would have been closer, okay? So what could we improve upon? Now, what's great, actually, we'll go with what's great. Your shots are good. Whenever I've seen you shoot your gun, your shots have been beams, okay? And mechanically, you know how to move. You clearly know how to do a slide to prone, you know how to slide cancel, you know how to snake. Mechanically, you know what you're doing with aiming and moving, okay? You know what you're doing. Your ability to change classes and as in change weapons for different situations is really good. It's a huge benefit and a really good trait to have as a player in Call of Duty, especially when you're solo queuing. Knowing how to use both guns is really important. And they're 3 really important things. However, I feel like there are certain other things that may be outweighing it. Now, working as a team means you have to trust your team to do what they do. And you need to make it so that you're also trustworthy, okay? So you need to be seen as doing the dirty work, a little bit of the cutting off and stuff like that as well. And as we got further and further onto this game, you were doing less of your teamwork here. So 10 and 7 going into P3. This is when you had 8 actual kills, by the way. So 8 actual kills and only 2 assists. Brilliant. That's what we need to see more of. Your limbs a lot of the time came from, which brings me into my next point, came from running it down, getting a bullet in because you got caught sprinting and your teammate ended up finishing the kill. That's where a lot of your limbs actually came from. And that, to me, tells you need to slow it down. Predict the gunfight. So I've said this a ton. You should be sprinting as little as possible and only sprinting when you know you're safe. Okay, that's number one thing I want you to take away from today, slow it down. Watch how somebody else plays, okay? Whether it's another YouTuber, whether it's my own content, watch how we play, whether you tune into a stream or whatever, watch how another player plays and see how much you're sprinting in comparison, because you are sprinting a hell of a lot and you're getting caught out sprinting a lot. So just really try and rein in how much you're doing that and slow it down. Next thing is when you are, I love this, by the way. I love the fact that you're willing to just push up and cut off the map. Love it. Love the aggression. When you are taking on gunfights, you want to be at the best possible situation for you to win that gunfight. Okay, you need to be able to control that gunfight and make sure you're ready. And wherever the enemy comes from, you've actually got a good head glitch and they don't have a head glitch. You know what I'm saying? And they're the three main things I really need you to try and work on following today's help with Harrz. Patience. Don't worry about what the team's doing. You can't control them. Forget it. Do what you do best and do it well. Forget what the team are doing. Use your teammates' locations to predict spawns and all that sort of stuff and fill in gaps they're not covering. But if they're doing something wrong or you're looking at the scoreboard, just screw it. Doesn't matter. Do what you do. Lead them to it. You can't control your teammates. So that's number one thing. Control what you can control. Second thing, as I said, and I've emphasized this heavily, pick gunfights that are going to benefit you. Okay, so when you're running around the map and as you manipulate yourself around the map, try and make it so that if you get challenged, you're likely to win that gunfight. Okay? And then the third thing, which very, very important, slow it down. Okay? Don't let the frustration you have in the game generally make it so that you're just sprinting. Okay? You don't need to sprint as much as you do. The game's quick anyway. And a lot of the kills, you'll get more kills by sprinting less. I promise you, you'll get more kills by sprinting less. Work on those three things. There are two really hard things to actually learn, is the patience thing and this moving less thing, because they're so innate into your gameplay already, and they're more of a mentality thing rather than a mechanical thing. But yeah, those, I really want you to try and focus on those. Try and replicate the pace of the players you see playing who are at a high level, and yeah, I think you'll be fine. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something, and I will see you guys in the next one. Ciao for now.